Oi, Aldir, tudo bom?
Oi, Gregory, tudo bem? Você me escuta?
Tudo bem, te escuto bem. Vocês precisam fazer algum tipo de teste ou tá tudo certo aí?
Cara, eu preciso de uma informação de vocês. A
Ó,
Paula me informou que no trip passado vocês provavelmente estavam utilizando os alto-falantes, né? Ou estavam sem fones de ouvido durante a conferência, o que degrada um pouco a qualidade do áudio. Você sabe me dizer se os palestrantes vão estar utilizando fones durante a conferência ou não?
não sei dizer, viu? Você sabe,
Tudo
Gabriel?
bem.
Acho que o Gabriel não tá ouvindo, mas não sei dizer, não. Provavelmente não, tá?
Tá, ok. Paula, você escutou? Você ouviu?
Boa tarde, pessoal, tudo bem? Ouvi sim, sem problema. Eu só reparei que na última reunião houve essa dificuldade com o som, mas se eles não tiverem um fone para ouvir, não tem problema, a gente faz o máximo possível
Sim,
sempre.
tá
É,
ótimo.
como eu disse, degrada um pouco a qualidade, mas é possível. A Paula, provavelmente, uma vasta experiência aí com traduções, ela consegue, mas atrapalha um pouquinho o trabalho dela, né? Ou dificulta o entendimento final do conteúdo,
Uhum,
tá bem?
uhum. Tudo bem. Aí no limite, qualquer coisa também para se vocês quiserem mandar a gravação tratada, né? A gente espera um pouco mais e antes de subir a gravação e depois a gente sobe quando tiver um pouco melhor, tá?
Tudo bem. Eu estou fazendo a gravação localmente aqui, tá?
Uhum.
Tanto do áudio inglês quanto do português, né? Que seria o áudio daqui da nossa sala, quanto o áudio da Paula que está apartado aqui comigo, tá bem?
Na verdade é o contrário, né? O ao vivo vai ser em inglês e o traduzido vai ser em português, né?
Isso, desculpe,
Ah, tá.
desculpe, eu tive essa pequena confusão qual é a língua principal, é que tá,
Para
eu
todo
já vou
mundo
ter
é
que
o
fazer uma
contrário,
alteraçãozinha aqui, sim,
Uhum,
eu vou fazer uma pequena mudança aqui, porque
uhum,
talvez o roteamento tivesse invertido, tá?
tá.
Então o principal é o inglês e o português é o secundário, certo?
Isso, exato.
Ok, na hora de rotear, eu coloco... Uhum. Tá, o áudio daqui no A e o áudio daqui no B. Perfeito, perfeito.
Beleza. Acho que o pessoal que vai falar, né, o nosso CEO, o nosso CFO, eles vão entrar um pouquinho antes, né? Então, essa questão da qualidade do áudio, do microfone, também dá para falar com eles lá e ver se tem algum jeito de melhorar rápido, assim, se tem um microfone, alguma coisa ali à mão, tá?
Perfeito, perfeito. Vou fazer um pequeno teste aqui na sala para ver se a gente está, se a mudança que eu fiz é válida. Então, esse aqui é o inglês está indo no B.
Eu recebi do pessoal da MZ um link do Google Meet para intérprete.
Era para Paula, a Paula já
Ah,
está
tá.
comigo lá. Não tem
Beleza.
problema, tá?
Tá ótimo.
Então, o inglês é o principal e o português o secundário. Perfeito. O ajuste. Vou ter certeza de que o roteamento não ficará errado. Temos aí 12 minutos, mais ou menos, até a hora de início. Quando vocês estiverem prontos para liberar o pessoal, peço que vocês me avisem para que eu feche meu microfone, né? E não tenha risco de vazar nenhum áudio meu para vocês, tá bem?
Tudo bem, combinado.
Só uma dúvida, vocês vão fazer share screen com apresentação, mais vídeo, vai ser somente apresentação e áudio? Você tem mais informações sobre como será a conferência?
Você ia falar, Gabriel?
O Rodrigo vai apresentar a tela dele, o CEO.
Ah, perfeito, Gabriel. Perfeito, excelente. Eu manterei como speaker view a captura aqui, ok? E vou como backup fazer a gravação no próprio... Ah, não, eu não tenho permissão para gravar. Se vocês puderem ativar a gravação aí também como contingência, né? Acho que é o melhor cenário para a gente ter tudo certinho. Eu estou gravando aqui, né? Mas tendo a contingência do cloud, se for possível, é o melhor dos cenários, tá?
Tá ótimo.
Tá bom, tá gravando já no cloud.
Ah, excelente, excelente. Bom, eu vou permanecer em mudo aqui, me ausentar por 5 minutinhos para ir ao banheiro, buscar uma água. Paula, se você quiser, eu acho que também é o horário exato para fazer isso, para buscar uma aguinha. E aí a gente retorna para ficar a postos para o início da conferência, tá bem?
Alô? Caros, me escutam?
Ouvimos bem, Rodrigo.
Ah, tá bom.
Pessoal das intérpretes, vocês conseguem ouvir bem? Como é que tá chegando o áudio do Rodrigo?
Boa tarde, Rodrigo, tudo bem? Pode falar
Boa
um
tarde.
pouquinho mais para eu ouvir?
1, 2, 3, testando.
Ficou bem
Tá
claro
bom?
com o fone. Obrigada, viu?
Tá bom.
Sempre ajuda muito.
É inglês ou português? É inglês, né, que eu faço?
É inglês, é inglês.
Então tá bom.
E, Rodrigo, sempre que a gente faz do inglês para o português, uma orientação que a gente costuma dar é que o palestrante não vá super rápido, porque o português é maior do que o inglês. Então, sempre leva um pouco mais de tempo para a gente comunicar a mesma mensagem, tá? Se puder segurar um pouco na velocidade, é sempre recomendável.
Tá bem, tá ótimo. Obrigado pela dica, porque eu falo rápido.
A gente se empolga, né, quando a gente gosta do assunto. Obrigada.
Oi, Rodrigo, só um ponto aqui. As perguntas que a gente for recebendo pelo chat, eu vou te encaminhar pelo WhatsApp, pode ser?
Pode ser, sim.
Tá ótimo.
Boa
Vou
tarde.
te dar um oi aí.
Pessoal, eu só peço para que, quando forem começar, vocês informem a gente aqui, né, quando forem liberar o pessoal, para eu retirar a música e rotear os áudios para os locais corretos, tá bem?
Tá bem.
Tá bom. Vocês conseguem me ouvir bem?
Escuto. Tem um pouco de eco,
Um
mas
pouco de
escutando.
ambiência e eco, mas
É.
dá para te ouvir sim.
Tem algum microfone que dá para você usar, Kleber?
Eu tenho só fone, mas microfone.
Teria o fone do Glauber aqui, mas acho que até não vai dar tempo de configurar. Mas tá bom, tá claro.
Tá.
Como é que tá aí, Gabriel?
Em ordem, a apresentação está pronta aqui. A gente está com 17 pessoas, né?
Na página em
Então,
português,
production.
na página em português tem umas 20 e na página em inglês tem só duas pessoas da MZ, inclusive. Acho que o pessoal de inglês...
De inglês a gente nem compartilhou, né?
Tá tudo no
Em
Zoom
inglês da
aqui.
MZ.
Valeu. Tá. Opa.
O Cleiton da End Capital tá na página em português aqui, esperando.
Normalmente a gente espera aqui uns 3 a 5 minutos, né?
Um pouquinho menos, uns 3 minutos.
E quando formos iniciar, eu peço para vocês me avisarem porque eu levo uns 10 segundinhos para conseguir retirar a música e colocar vocês no ar, tá bem?
Tá bem, vou esperar mais uns 2 minutinhos aí.
Acho que podemos soltar.
Acho que podemos, né? Então vamos.
Sim.
Excelente evento para vocês, senhores. Ótimo evento para todos.
Obrigado.
Good afternoon, you all. Welcome to and thank you for attending Aura's fourth quarter earnings call. My name is Gabriel Catalani. I'm the Investor Relations Officer. We have also Rodrigo Barbosa, CEO of the company, and Kleber Cardoso, CFO. They will be presenting today. After their presentation, we'll also have a Q&A session. You can send your questions via chat here at Zoom. And after the presentation, they will be answering your questions. The presentation is already available on our website, and the record of this meeting will also be available on our website by the end of the day. Is ir.auraminerals.com. Rodrigo.
Thank you, Gabriel, and thank you for all for participating on this call, where we will present the main results, achievements during the year of 2021. And then Kleber is going to show more the financial of the fourth quarter and also the full year of 2021. Gabriel, we're going to share. Yeah, okay. So we'll present a few slides about the main achievements and also progress of our production and cash cost. And then, as I mentioned, Kleber is going to present in detail the results. So we're going to go one more. Very well. So on slide number 5, for those that are also following up with the printed version, 2021, and I would remind all the investors that we did the re-IPO of the company, sharing a story where we would provide our shareholders with a combination of high growth, a company that was producing 204,000 ounces in 2020, and we shared the vision to reach over 400,000 ounces, and we would do that under a low leverage, paying dividends, and through very creative projects such as Almas and Matupa. So what have we achieved during the year of 2021? Number one, we increased production by 32%, coming from 204,000 ounces, going to 269,000 ounces during the year, which is a very strong step towards the 400,000 ounces. Not only that, we also paid 13.5% of dividend yield, one of the highest dividend yields in the industry, and also one of the highest in Brazil, while maintaining a low leverage. We grew 32%. We moved forward with projects that greenfield projects. We paid the dividends, and we finished the year with a negative net debt and a net cash position. So we are delivering as we promised to the market since 2020. Other very important achievements during the year 2021 is building a strong steps towards the 400,000 ounces. Is we initiated Almas project construction, which is now on track to start the plant in early next year and ramp up for commercial production by mid next year. I would remind shareholders that this project is giving us 100% internal rate of return leveraged at gold prices 1,800. So it's a very creative project that we should start production next year. Other project that we move forward is Matupa. Matupa is a project that also came with Rio Novo, a project that initiated its geological studies, and when we acquired had only 340,000 ounces. Last year we had an option either to invest more in geology to significantly increase the resources and reserves. We decided at those projects that has a very short payback and a very strong internal rate of return. We decided that it would be more important to convert the resources into reserves and to start the process of environmental licensing so that we could start construction next year. So the result is confirmed our suspicions that would be a highly creative project. We launched a PEA December last year of Matupa, giving over 70% of internal rate of return leveraged at 50% and gold prices at 1,800. And this project has only 340,000 ounces of resources, we should be releasing a new 43-101 and reserves very soon on the project. But we expect to be able to increase the geological resources and reserves, which would even move our internal rate of return at higher. So we published this PEA, and now we are in the process of the environmental licensing. Another very important point that we moved forward also with our ESG agenda, not only issuing the new sustainability report, and also in the inventory of carbon footprint and water consumption. We also committed to women in mining in all countries that we operate, and we committed also to have at least 40% of women be interviewed for managerial positions, while we will be training local labor and women in order to be able to train and attract them to work with us, and so that we can assume more new targets for the next years. The operations, as you could see in the fourth quarter, we significantly improved production in Aranzazu due to a higher capacity and better grades. We also increased our production in Honduras with a higher grade, and also improvements that the management is doing at the site. And a combination of those improvements more than offset the non-production from Gold Road as we stopped investing in Gold Road, and Gold Road was put in care maintenance by October last year. On combination of good results and dividend, we reached the #1 performance in the whole TSX listed companies, not only mining, but also many other companies. AURA was #1 and in performance, and we expect to continue delivering results so that we continue to be highly ranked on performance to our shareholders. On the finance side, we also worked, we issued new debentures during the year. We re-leveraged some of the projects, Almas, and also the current operations, stretching out the terms, not only stretching out the terms, but also reducing the cost of debt by 2.6% basis point. As a guidance for next year, for this year, 2022, we now expect a slower growth for this year, more organic growth through the operations that we already have. So we expect to be between 260 and 290,000 ounces during this year. And the new big major steps are coming in early next year with Almas entering production, and Matupa we expect to enter production by 2024. Next. In terms of safety and COVID, we had during the year accumulated 9 lost time injuries during the year 2021. This is below the industry average, but far from what we would like to be. So we are intensifying all our measures, all our procedures, and all our incentives internally in order to even reduce the lost time and the level of access within our operations. In terms of COVID, we continue to monitor, we continue to help the communities where we are with information and also with suppliers. We reached close to 100% of people vaccinated in operations, at least one dose. In many places, we are already 95% already with the second dose. So, and we have not had any case that was spread within our operations in terms of COVID. Those that came with COVID came with already contaminated from outside. So that means that the measures and the procedures we implemented in operations was very efficient in order to avoid the spread within our employees. And that also impacted us not having to slow production, or didn't impact the production when we didn't have a lot of cases internally, and none of the cases was spread within our operations. In this slide, number 7, so we provide the production for the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter, you could see a significant increase compared to the other quarters. Basically, Aranzazu, as I mentioned to you, a higher production. We increased capacity of Aranzazu as we had shared with the market late 2020. We increased the capacity by 30%. And that was finished during the second quarter. So third and fourth quarter, we had a combination of high production in Aranzazu and also higher grades. San Andres, was negatively impacted on the Q3 because of the stoppage in July. And also in Q4, we didn't have the stoppage, but we also could make significant improvements on grades, recoveries, and also the whole performance. And in EPP, we are now gradually moving forward on the higher grade of Ernesto. So we went up from 15,000 ounces to 17,000 ounces. And a combination of all of that, we reached 78,000 ounces on the quarter, which is a record high breaking for Aura and operations, at least in the last 10 years. In terms of cash cost, the quarter, the combination of better performance and higher production, we also could reduce the cash cost consolidated basis in operations, going to 691 on the operations Aranzazu, San Andrés, and EPP. And when you add, which is now under care and maintenance, Gold Road would be $717 per ounce. In terms of the full year of 2020, we had $809 per ounce, and this year, excluding Gold Road, we are now at $764 per ounce. And for the projection, which is very within the guidance that we gave the market. So we reached the production and we reached the costs on the guidance to the market. I would highlight in terms of cost also, as I mentioned, we still have two important projects to develop within our portfolio, Almas and Matupa. Those projects are the ones that will give us the opportunity to grow additional 50% in terms of production compared to 2021. But not only that, we will go through a very highly accretive project in terms of internal rate of return, and also being able to reduce our average cash cost. So those either Matupa and Almas are on the first quartile of the industry in terms of cash costs, and that with a combination of the project, the operations that we already have, we should be moving towards the second quartile in terms of cash costs by 2024. As a guidance, and the next slide, I will speak more about the longer term view. So we produced 269,000 ounces during the year. Now those out of the 269, 10,000 came from Gold Road, which is now under care and maintenance. And for this year, we project to be within 260 and 290,000 ounces, which is more organic growth and improvements that we are making operations and some higher grades that we are also achieving in some of the assets that we have. The next big steps we'll see in the next slide come from Almas and Matupa. In terms of cash cost, we finished the year, as I was mentioning, close to 769 or 816, including Gold Road, and we expect this year to be within the same basis, within 771 to 845. That comes because there are some lower grade areas that we are reaching during the year, and also higher strip ratio that mainly in San Andrés that we'll reach, that will basically maintain us at the same cash cost or slightly higher on the combination of those things, and also some small inflation that we are feeling in operations. Some of them we are also being able to control. In terms of CapEx, we had a year of $78 million of investment, and that would include also a Gold Road, which required close to $15 million. Next year, we don't have Gold Road, but on the other hand, we will be investing in Almas project that require on the total close to $75 million. Only next year is going to be close to between 55, 61 Almas and also other expansion projects. So our guidance to the market for next year in terms of CapEx is going to be $100 to $111 million. Understanding that out of these 55 and $61 million is for growth project that's still not yet generating cash flows. And the sustaining in the exploration are from the project that already produced the cash flows. In terms of growth, and then Kleber will talk more about the results, I share with you, our investors and analysts, that we are very much on track to reach over 400,000 ounces by 2024 annualized. So we are coming, this is a company that's coming from 122,000 ounces of production in 2018. We grew over 67% until 2020, reaching 204,000 ounces. We grew an additional 32% last year, reaching 269,000 ounces. Not only that, we significantly made strong steps towards the development of Almas and Matupa. Again, Almas, we already started production, we started the construction. In Matupa, we are now in process of licensing, and we issued a pre-economic assessment during December last year. Very high accretive projects for our shareholders, and a combination of organic growth that we will have this year and more opportunities that we can increase on the current operation, plus Almas and Matupa will give us we will be able to reach over 400,000 ounces by 2024. Very much in track on what we share with the market. Not only this, paying dividends and maintaining a low leverage. And finally, go ahead. Now, Kleber, I'll pass to you.
Thanks, Rodrigo. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for having us here today. Next couple of slides, I'm going to show a summary of the financial results for the quarter and for the year. On this page, we have a summary of the main financial KPIs for AURA for the fourth quarter of the year, the last few quarters, and accumulated 12 months at the end of each reporting period. As we can see overall, the message of this slide is it was a strong quarter in terms of operational results, with net income achieving $160 million. At the end of the fourth quarter, for the year, AURA is reporting $444 million in net revenues. In terms of adjusted EBITDA recorded $56 million. As Rodrigo was saying, it's a record high for the company. Without Gold Road, that number would have been even higher. Gold Road had some demobilization costs associated with the transition into care maintenance during the quarter. So without Gold Road, the adjusted EBITDA would have been $59 million. And for the year, AURA is reporting a consolidated adjusted EBITDA of $185 million for the year of 2021. In terms of net income, positive net income of $23 million, despite some non-cash expenses of $22 million in the quarter, which will explain a little bit more in detail in the next slide, and bringing the total net income for the year to $43 million. Finally, in terms of cash and net debt, starting with net debt, that is the column in red we see in this slide. AURA is reporting again another quarter with negative net debt or a positive net cash of $2 million, despite paying $25 million in dividends in December. We also bring it here more to the right side of the chart. You can see a pro forma, what would have been the net debt of AURA without excluding the Gold Road debt. And the net debt would have been at the end of the year minus $27 million. Or $27 million in net cash. So we can have an idea what's going to be the impact in our balance sheet when Gold Road is no longer part of the AURA portfolio. And finally, in dotted lines, we can see the cash position of the company. We remain with a strong cash position at the end of the fourth quarter, above $106 million, pretty much consistent with the previous quarter, despite the payments of dividends in the quarter. On the next page, on page 14, we have a conciliation between the adjusted EBITDA and the net income for the fourth quarter. As we saw previously on the left side, the adjusted EBITDA for the quarter was $56 million. We had amortization depletion expenses of $9 million, which has been more or less consistent with the number reported in previous quarters. Finance costs were $7 million, where this number is above the recurring number, and that's mainly because it includes around $3 million in accrued interest expenses that is related to the acceleration of the Gold Road debt. So Gold Road, historically, until the previous quarter, recorded in its balance sheet its debt, considering the fair market value of the debt. And with the acceleration of the debt during the fourth quarter, it had to recognize at the end of the year the debt at the full nominal value. The fair market value of the gold road debt was $22 million, and the full nominal value is 25. So this $3 million difference had to be accrued and impact our P&L in the fourth quarter. But again, this is a non-cash item. We also had income tax expenses of $14 million, of which approximately half of that is deferred and not no cash in the quarter. That's mainly comes from Aranzazu, where there was a consumption of deferred tax assets, and also some timing differences. Another non-cash item in the quarter were related to changing estimates in asset retirement obligation for miners in care maintenance, that we recorded another $3 million in expenses, another non-cash item in the quarter, bringing then the net income to $23 million at the end of the fourth quarter. And then on next page, on page 15, on this page, we bring a detailed analysis of the change of the cash position of the company throughout the fourth quarter of the year. On the far left side of the slide, we can see the cash position at the beginning of the quarter at $165 million. Then this left side of the page, there is one analysis that we call adjusted free cash flow to firm. That is the free cash flow generated by the mining operations, not including investments to grow the company. That portion of the business generated $32 million in cash during the fourth quarter, excluding Gold Road, just considering EPP, Aranzazu, and San Andres. The cash generated by those three mines were $36 million in the quarter, and minus the corporate expenses. More in the middle of the chart, we have what we call investment for growth, investment that the company makes to increase production in the future or increase the life of the mine of the company, such as exploration expenses, exploration capex, and expansion investments in projects AURA and Matupa. That portion of the business consumed $8 million in cash during the fourth quarter. And more to the right side of the page, we have other smaller items, but we also have the biggest cash outflow during the quarter. That was the dividend payments occurred in early December, $25 million, bringing the cash and equivalents above $106 million at the end of Q4. So overall, we see the main cash outflow was dividends and investments to grow the company. That was sustained by the cash generated by the current operations, so that the company was able to keep almost stable the cash and equivalents of the company throughout the quarter. And with this, we end our presentation and open up into questions.
So while we see the questions here, overall, we are performing according to what we presented during the IPO. And not only that, when you see AURA is performing according to what it should in terms of macroeconomics as well, right? While we see the world with uncertainties in many other areas, Brazil, for example, uncertainty about the growth and higher interest rates. AURA is improving our margins, increasing production, and also reducing the cost of debt once we are anti-cyclical and we are being able to improve our results according to higher gold prices as well. So I have one first question here, which is, please elaborate a bit why the guidance now that we are presenting is different from what we presented in AURA Day, which was a couple of months ago. And can you share update of reserves and resources? Do we expect our mines in particular highlight any mine that would highlight? Well, first question is on last presentation given AURA Day, we can only present to the market things that has been discussed and approved by the board. On that time, we still had the Gold Road as a potential production. Now we are most of the different comes taking out Gold Road on our guidance, and using the current operation plus Almas and Matupa. Then I have a question: does our management consider streaming royalties agreements for financing Almas and Matupa? For Almas, we are already fully funded. We are not considering streaming. Streaming normally has a higher cost compared to what we've been able to assess. So we are not considering for Almas, we are not considering streaming for Matupa, but we might consider for other projects if we think that is the best alternative for the company and for our shareholders. I also received another question here from Daniel. If we plan to increase our production even further above the 400,000 ounces. So yes, we have a very good plan, a very well detailed plan that is now in execution to reach, and we know very much how to reach over 400,000 ounces on the yearly production. But we understand very well that companies that produce more than 500,000 ounces, they change the peers. They're consolidated more to a major company, and those companies that has more than 500,000 ounces, they trade with 50% or more premium in terms of multiples compared to those that are under 500,000 ounces. So we know very much that we can significantly also increase further the results and the value for shareholders if we reach above 500,000 ounces. And that's why we are actively looking for alternatives for M&A. We know very much how to reach 400,000 ounces, but above that, we'll have to go through M&As. There's another question that I have here. If I can give some highlights in terms of resources and reserves, the findings from exploration and expenses. We should be releasing the new report in the coming weeks, updating resources and reserves. But as we've been able to show the market, since we started the turnaround projects was 2017-18, we started investing more on the shy basis on the first 2 years, but we started increasing more last year. So we've been able, with a small investment that we've done so far, but now increasing, not only to replenish our resources and reserves, but also increase. So we should be continue to do that as we are now increasing investment in geology. So we are not only replenish resources and reserves, but we've been able also to increase. So I have another question with regards to exploration expense. Which are the areas in which there are no reserves yet that you will do exploration works? Do you expect volumes could be added in the next reserve report? We expect to have some addition of resource reserves, but the report is coming up soon. We cannot anticipate. But there are, AURA is a company that has been underinvested and under management in the past. We started this turnaround in 2017. During the first years, we had a lot of decisions of selling assets, merging with another company, restarting another. And we only started paying more attention to geology. That was when we started having a better cash flows as well. That was back in 19. And then in 19 and 20, we did only superficial investments on the surface. And we started drilling more last year, and we intensified the drilling during this year. So there are many areas that we found that would be very interesting to drill, and that could significantly increase resource and reserves. And that is in all the assets. We have opportunities in EPP, which are underway right now. Even Almas, that we already have 15 years of life of mine. There are many indications that we could have a smaller but higher grades pockets very close to the plant. So we are now intensifying geology in order to understand this potential, because if we do find it, then we can put higher grades that we have on the current plan that would increase also the capacity of production. Matupa is a project that we did almost nothing in terms of geology in the last 3 years, just minor exploration on copper and also gold. It's a very high potential area. There are many other companies operating around us, and we are just now starting to invest more in geology in order to expand the resources reserves, but only with the 340,000 ounces of resources, we've been able to publish a PEA of a 70% leveraged internal rate of return. And as we move forward now on more geological investments, we expect again to also be able to increase. In regards of cost of goods sold, do you expect any impact from higher diesel prices in the 2022 guidance? Most of the inflation there was already transferred during last year. We are not projecting a significant increase now in our costs and our productions. We have contracts that now expires of operations, or 3 years on the mine, that we are now renegotiating, understanding the opportunities not to increase, but also to reduce. So there's a strong front in Aura in order not only to contain the inflation, but also be able to further find possibilities to decrease our cash costs. So we do not expect significant increase, or even we could even expect some decrease on cost of operation those mines. Is the new expansion, new project CapEx largely devoted to Almas in 2022? Is Matupa construction still expected to start in H1 2022? Our schedule is we start construction of Almas last year. During this year, we would do the whole construction to initiate production next year. Matupa, the idea to start construction next year. This year is a year of licensing and also advancing some geology to start construction next year, and then it enters in production by 2024. So Matupa, we are already in construction, starts production 23. Matupa starts construction 23 and production 2024. And with regards from Daniel Santos, with regards of possibilities of M&A and financing capital, could we see the leverage pick up a little bit, or the acquisition might be financed exclusively with equity? If so, what level leverage we could see in the future? So we have a policy internally to run under the low leverage ratios, not with the cash positive. Every time we have excess of cash, we will be distributed to our shareholders either by dividend, by share buybacks, or if we find good opportunities for M&A, we could use this cash. How far could we go leverage? We would like to operate Aura under 1x EBITDA in terms of net debt. We could go a little over 1.5, a little over. In some acquisitions, if we see an opportunity to reduce below 1x very fast. So that would be the range and the policy that we already have. Everything that would move us acquisition that would require more cash than 1.5, 1x EBITDA, then we would consider, yes, equity as a source of funding for that acquisition. But we already start with a very strong balance sheet with a negative net debt, so that gives us a significant flexibility in order to pursue the growth through M&A that we plan. There's another question here, if we can share about the dividend policy. Yes, we approved with the board a policy of 20% of the EBITDA minus recurring CapEx. That's what we also shared with the market during 2020. And every time we see that there's an excess of cash, as I was mentioning earlier, we would also transfer this cash to our shareholders, either by dividends or buyback. But well, I think that's
Rodrigo, there is a question from Caio Greiner aqui. He said, can you elaborate a little bit more on the lower production guidance for 2022 versus the one shown in the Investor Day? Did EPP disappoint your expectations in the short term, specifically about 2022 guidance?
Mm-hmm. On Ernesto specifically, Ernesto pit is a very high grade that we would operate only during the year 2022. That would also give us opportunity to increase production during this year. What we had is some delay entering on the Ernesto pit, together with a short-term model was showing a slightly different grade compared to the long term. So that also creates some, I would say, frustration. But most importantly, what we saw is an opportunity to reduce the cutoff. As we see gold prices moving up, that means that we can enter in grades that was not economically viable in the past. So we reduced now the cutoff of the project, that together with the change on the short-term mine, decrease the grade of Ernesto, but in the other hand, increase the life of mine of Ernesto. So we are not only operating now Ernesto during 2022, but we also operated during the year 2023, on average, a lower grade compared to what we had, but with more months of production.
There's also a question regarding M&A. So with regards to possible M&As and financing capital, could we see the leverage pick up a little bit or the acquisition might be financed exclusively with equity? If so, what level of leverage we could see in the future?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I think I already answered this. It's the rate should be not more than 1.5 times EBITDA. In terms of leverage, we would like to run always under 1. So any acquisition would consider this kind of thresholds. And if we see that's a creative, it requires more cash than we could finance internally, then we would also access the equity capital market in order to raise the cash, or even use our shares as a payment on the acquisition. But we already start with a very strong position, with a lot of room to work internally without having to access the equity capital market soon.
I believe that's all. We want to.
So I would like to thank you and thank you all for being with us. For the Brazilians, it's Carnival, it's coming soon. Wish all the good holidays for everybody. We've been delivering results consistently with the market. Gold now is particularly now with the consequences of the geopolitical change in the world should remain strong. Not only that, but this change can and should also make the countries such as United States and Europe to increase the expanding on the army, which increase significantly more the deficit, which reduce the flexibility of Federal Reserve to increase a nominal interest rates, which can sustain or could push gold price even further. But AURA should not be considered as not only considered as an investment opportunistic or just to leverage up on the future gold prices, but is very accretive to any investors to diversify its portfolio, and as a company such as AURA to reduce the beta while not compromising the alpha. So we will be able, with AURA, you can reduce the volatility of your portfolio and also not compromising the growth. But the story could also provide you a 50% of growth with dividends and also through very creative projects. So I thank you all. Wish you all the best weekend for everybody, and happy holidays for the Brazilians.